one of the key things that we need to think about is what it is we're trying to do when we're rehabilitating our dogs. It might seem obvious that we're trying to change their behaviour. What we need to do is also influence their emotional response so that they no longer feel the need to react. So classical conditioning is where we associate something that isn't significant to the dog with something that is. So think Pavlov's dogs, or think about your dog when you pick up the lead and it gets excited. That's a case of classical conditioning. And the key with that is that there's no behaviour expected of the dog in that. What we're doing is simply associating one stimulus with another. Desensitisation. And here what we're doing is reducing a response to a trigger by, first of all, starting off with low levels of exposure to it and gradually increasing that exposure as the dog becomes more comfortable. And when we're talking about reactivity, we're usually combining it with counter-conditioning. So counter-conditioning is essentially the same as classical conditioning, except that we are trying to change an existing association and replace it with a more positive one. So it can take a bit longer. And what we do is, when the trigger appears, we just feed the dog, and we feed it something very, very tasty that's rewarding to it. And we just keep feeding while the trigger's in sight and stop feeding when the trigger leaves. And a key to doing this properly is that while we're working on the counter conditioning, the dog is never in a position where they go over threshold and react to a trigger. And that can make it quite tricky to do if you're walking your dog every day. But if you can stay under threshold, it's a very effective way to work, and you gradually get so that the dog will see the appearance of another dog as a predictor of great things coming and will get excited about it. So you're changing the dog's emotional response to that trigger.